Hey guys, welcome back to Comic Book Corner, and this is your host, Spider Slayer. That's right guys, sorry about the delay on videos, but I am in the middle of a work week that consists of 10 days straight. So my time has been very limited, and I actually got off of work early today, so I'm going to do some videos, okay? And the first one that we're going to start off with today is... That's right, The Walking Dead, A Larger World, the conclusion, issue number 96. A very nice cover, obviously done by Robert Kirkman, and the art's done by Charlie Adlard, and our gray tones is done by Cliff Rathburn. This issue really didn't have much action in it. This was all pretty much dialogue and setting up the story for the next story arc. So this is basically what happens in the issue. So again, not much action. It's setting it up for the next story arc, which I think is going to be crazy because what Rick has volunteered the group to do is pretty insane. Again, I apologize for this particular review, especially being later than usual, because I'm pretty prompt about the Walking Dead reviews, because I know a lot of you guys look forward to them. But again, I had to work so much this week, and there's a lot of stuff going on that it's been tough getting the reviews up. So I'm going to do a few today. But with that being said, let's just get started right here with The Walking Dead issue number 96. All right, let's do it, guys. All right, so first off, in our last issue, Rick was holding a knife, or actually he was defending himself against this this guy, and he basically killed him. And it was concluded in this issue that it was a self-defense issue. What has happened is the Hilltop's leader, Gregory, was stabbed, and Ethan was the one that stabbed Gregory. And Ethan was the guy that is, I guess, is just, you know, delivering a message for this guy called Negan, and he is a leader of a group called the Saviors, and there's some other network group out there, but they're very, very evil people. But basically, you know, Rick is defending his case, saying, you know, what am I supposed to do? No one would help me, and everyone was standing back. So after this discussion about what has happened, you know, Rick was basically let off the hook, and you know, the guards were coming, and you know, they were all saying, you know, put down your gun, and Rick was like, no, I don't think I will, and you know, he was holding his gun up, and what happened is just this real heated thing that went on. And again, after all this loud talk and everything that was going on, Jesus just basically said, you know, let's lay down our weapons, let's get Gregory inside, because we can't stop the bleeding, and you know, nothing's going to get solved unless we don't talk about it. So that's basically what's happening here in the particular issue. So they go back, and they're trying to heal Gregory, and basically what's going on is that the Hilltop has enemies, and Jesus goes into a big description about ever since the walls went up, there was this group, and you know, they were called the Saviors. And basically they had these crazy demands, and they have these mean people where they say, either give me half of your supplies or we're going to start killing people. And basically that's what's been going on. And you know, Gregory has done some great things, and Jesus actually says, you know, I wouldn't have delegated him as leader, but you know, he's done some good things, but some things I don't agree with, and people like him, so that's why he's the leader. So this is the situation. So basically, they give them half their supply, so the saviors leave them alone. And but in these instances, things have been getting worse and worse, and certain things have been happening. So, for instance, there was this girl that was kidnapped, Crystal, and Ethan was this guy who delivered the message, and he wound up getting killed in the process. So Carl comes up with this crazy thing out of all people, and he says, if we kill all these bad guys, will you start giving us half of your food and stuff? So Carl is the one proposing this crazy deal to go after these characters called the Saviors. And, you know, and Rick kind of agrees, because he says, you know, confrontation's never been something we've had a lot of trouble with. And Jesus is like, dude, are you serious? And basically that's, you know, what was going on. So after, you know, after this long discussion that was going on, they were having a burning of the body, a funeral of this Ethan guy, and Rick shows up because he, you know, he feels deep down, he does feel bad of what happened, but other people are not taking it too lightly, and you can see that this guy over here punches Rick out. You know, but Jesus breaks up the whole situation, and you know, Jesus sticks up for him, and he just says, you know, back off. He's just like, you know, until you convince me that no one else would have done the same thing, don't blame Rick. So it was pretty nice of Jesus to do that, and that shows you that Jesus can be trusted, that he is a good guy. At least I think so. So the next morning, you know, everybody wakes up, and, you know, Rick is actually quite happy. He gives Andrea a little kiss there, and he's like, you know, it's a beautiful day, and, you know, Rick has this talk with Gregory, and they're discussing, you know, about the deal, about the situation, the proposition about giving half the supplies. And just Rick even goes, you know, we don't even need half the supplies. We just need enough to keep our group, you know, nice and full and keep things coming. And, you know, and Gregory kind of, you know, Gregory, you know, talks about the situation, and they agree. And so what happened is the group now is leaving with all kinds of supplies, and they're going to bring it back to the safe zone where they're at. And Jesus says, well, when it's time to come, and you know, time to take down this guy Megan, it's a hard name to remember, you know, you'll be ready. And Andrea and Michonne were kind of like, what are you talking about? You know, and you know, Rick says, this is what we volunteered to do, and Michonne and Andrea are sitting there going, you volunteered us for this? And he's like, it's the right thing to do. So you know, as they're heading back, and everything else is Rick goes into this big speech, he's got hope now. He's like, you know, ever since the beginning, people have delegated me to be the leader. I don't know if it's because I was a cop, but he goes, I was never really good at it, and, you know, but there's a reason why, and I get now why people, delegated me as the leader, because everybody has their own view on things, and it shows to Glenn here, and he says, you know, you saw something to love, and Andrea sees something to ridicule, and Michonne has something to fear. And well, with Rick sees the future, and you know, he sees everything in perspective, and he says, you know, he sees a world without roamers. He sees a world that, you know, that people don't have to be scared anymore. And you know, he's like, we lost our wives, our mothers, our families, our brothers, and people that we love, but we don't have to do that. He's like, there's people in there that can help us, and you know, we can survive it. You know, we can build mankind again. We can make an unstoppable army. And you know, he's like, we've been surviving to to this actual moment. This is our future, you know. He's like, this is closer to civilization than we ever have been before. And you can see here that he's just preaching, and you see this nice picture of him, you know, just pumping the group up. And he goes, you know, we might be able to let our guard down again. And he sits there and he goes, and this changes everything. And he goes, we can finally stop surviving and start living. And you can see in the look in his face that he's just preaching that this is an opportunity, that if we get those people from the hilltop on our side, that we can band together and make a huge community and start surviving. We can take out the zombies. We can take out our enemies. We can start building the earth again. So it was like a prep talk, a little, you know, prep talk to the group to say, you know, we got to do this. This is the next step in our survival. So Rick is very optimistic, and again, that's why people made him the leader, because he always sees the future, or what the future could possibly be, and that's what's made him such a great leader. So again, this issue here, it was no action. It was all story, all dialogue, but it's setting up for the next story arc, which is the No Fear story arc, and I have a feeling that that one is going to be a phenomenal story arc there. And I've already seen all the covers. I'm sure a lot of you guys have. If you guys haven't checked out my issue 100 video for The Walking Dead, it has the cover on it, and it's freaking awesome. But yeah, I mean, for story wise, I give this, you know, part of it a 5 out of 5. You know, no action. So if you overlook the action aspect of it, you know, you know, action's not always the thing, though, about The Walking Dead. Walking Dead is about the story, and for me, it's a 5 out of 5. So tell me what you guys think of this issue of The Walking Dead, what your feelings are towards it. I think that Rick and the group are going to be out for some danger here. I think they're biting off more than they can chew. They don't know these people. They don't know what they're capable of, and I think someone's going to die. I don't know who it is, but somebody's going to die here in this upcoming story arc. So we will see. So that's it, guys. So I appreciate you taking the time and watching this review. So until the next comic book review, this is Spider Slayer signing off, and thanks for watching Comic Book Corner. Thanks, guys. See you soon.